sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the spot!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro on this Tuesday, July 18, the Sick Podcast, weeknights at 10 p.m. live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. The more of you subscribe, the more money we make. It's a beautiful thing. It makes everyone happy, along with Shane Gaumont, who's at Master Control. Shane, you're in your chair. I'm in my chair. I'm Marinaro. I'm in one of those moods tonight. I feel like going nuts. And it's because the snake, Simo, the Snake Boisvert, does this to me. I anxiously await when he joins me, and when he does, I know he's going to fire me up. So what I did today is already try and fire myself up before the show. So like that, I'm ready for him. So like that, the second he comes on, I'm going to storm right out of the gates. Maybe not. What I will tell you is that the Sick Podcast is brought to you by, in part by Energy Transportation Group, named by the Financial Times as one of America's fastest growing companies. In 2023, they grew faster than I actually read. They've been recognized by the Globe and Mail as a top growing Canadian company for 2 years in a row. They work with some of the biggest Fortune 500 companies providing end-to-end logistics services. Join a winning team and check out Energy's career page for available opportunities. Energy Transportation Group, my boys, Mike Cinquino and Sean Gerard, and they pay me every time I mention their name. As a matter of fact, I'm just making that up. But who knows? It might give them an idea. The Sick Podcast is also brought to you in part by Playground, your premier gaming destination, open 24/7. Drinks are always free while you play. Over 600 machines, poker tournaments, cash games, daily promotions, free valet, and unmatched customer service. Why go anywhere else? That's what I ask. Located just over the Mercier Bridge, only minutes from downtown Montreal. It is Playground. And brewed in Quebec and a winner of a dozen international awards, La Bittt at Tibi offers quality microbrewery beers made with premium ingredients for everyone's taste. La Bittt at Tibi, embrace your true nature. This morning, earlier today, I saw a piece on Donnie Coulis' website, and it's about David Reinbacher. Have you had a chance to see this? He has a disease called, if I'm not mistaken, Osgood-Schlatter disease, which I know of a few people that have been diagnosed with Osgood-Schlatter. It's one of the things we're going to discuss, but doesn't look like the Canadiens were aware of this when they drafted Reinbacher. And as a matter of fact, not everyone is. But one guy who seems to be aware is Maxime Truman from Dans les Coulisses. Anyway, we bring in from all the hockey circles around the Quebec. He's had a scouting opinion or two that have driven people nuts. Simon, the Snake Boisvert. Guarda qua. Guarda che bellezza questo qua. Oh! What's going on?
Hi, Tony.
C'est toi le meilleur, man. You're the best. C'est toi le meilleur.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Okay. This morning, when this came out, or this afternoon when you saw it, tell me that you weren't a little bit rattled. How did you feel about the story of David Reinbacher? And if we can bring up a couple of images, let's bring up the actual picture and piece on Dans les Coulisses. Il est atteint d'une maladie qui cause des douleurs fréquentes dans ses genoux. Suffering from a disease that causes frequent pain in his knees. It is Osgood-Schlatter disease. I know of a couple of people who have had it, who have grown out of it. And let's go into the article, and I'll read, and I will translate, and then I'll get your opinion on this. Lors d'un passage à l'émission Le Retour de Radio X sur les ondes de Choix FM, une émission pilotée par Jordan Boivin, Maxime Truman a confié que le jeune défenseur a des problèmes aux deux genoux. So Maxim Truman tells the people at Radio X that David Reinbacher has knee problems. En fait, cela explique par le fait qu'il est atteint d'une maladie osseuse infantile, une cause fréquente de douleurs de genoux chez les enfants et les adolescents. So it's obviously a disease that gives frequent knee pains and transpires in kids and even in adolescents. And la maladie cause des effritements de cartilage et d'os dans ses deux genoux. So it's got the cartilage rubbing against the bone in his two knees. I hope I'm translating that correctly. La douleur est apparue dans les deux genoux vers la fin de la dernière saison en Suisse. The knee pain started to happen at the end of the hockey season in Switzerland. Il y avait de l'inflammation. There was inflammation, mais son équipe ne s'y est pas trop attardée, but his team didn't think much of it at the time. Une fois arrivé à Montréal, le CH s'est penché plus sérieusement sur son cas. Once he arrived in Montreal, the Canadians looked deeper into it. And there's another piece. Ces problèmes lui ont nui au point où il devait patiner avec des ételles au niveau des deux genoux lors du camp de développement. What's des ételles?
Well, it's kind of it's a splint.
Oh, okay. All right. So
orthopedic support. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So kind of like a brace type of thing. Orthopedic brace. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. Ça fait en sorte.
It's called a splint. Yeah.
Okay. Splint. Ça fait en sorte qu'il avait de la difficulté à faire des changements de direction et accélérer rapidement sur la patinoire. This is why he had a hard time changing direction and accelerating quickly up the ice. C'est un brin inquiétant. It's a little bit inquiétant. How do I say that? Translate.
Concerning.
Got it. De savoir qu'il n'était pas à 100% au cas est une mauvaise nouvelle en soi. Mais la bonne nouvelle, si la maladie ne dégénère pas et qu'il est contrôlé par la prochaine année, il n'y aura pas de conséquences. So, it's if the disease doesn't get worse and it's controlled in the next year, there shouldn't be any consequences. And lorsqu'il aura fini sa croissance, after he finishes his growth spurt, il y a d'excellentes chances que la maladie disparaisse. Tout simplement, there's very good chances that it'll just go away by itself. Et puisque ces plaques de croissance, and because his growth plates are not closed yet, there is an opportunity, of course, for Reinbacher to even grow even more, get taller, the way it was reported over the last couple of weeks. Okay, so Snake, I looked into this. Maxim Truman's a friend of mine. I gave him a call. And I asked him, I said, Max, is this the same disease to the knees that your son has? Because Max has a young son who was a very good soccer player who had this. And in his case, if he wasn't going to have a surgery, his chances of overcoming it would have been 50-50. But he had a surgery. He's going to have a second surgery. And at that point, the chances for Max's son are about 90-10. So knowing that Max's son is going through this, I would imagine that Max knows a thing or two about it. So, what I've been told is that, in Reinbacher's case, you're probably looking at the same possibility, maybe even a 95% chance to 5% that it's going to be okay. But are you concerned by this?
Well, on one hand, it says, whenever you talk about the knees, it's always kind of scary because in the past, there were some hockey players that had to call it a career because of knee problems.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you look at the last two paragraphs, especially the next to last paragraph,
yeah,
it says, the good news is he might just be fine. And remember, I mean, the teams do a lot of research about players before drafting them, especially, first round picks. So I would be surprised if, although the Canadians seem to have discovered this later, that had it been like so concerning, that they would not have investigated a little bit more before.
But his team in Switzerland didn't even know about this, Snake. They thought it was just, he was getting inflammation because he was playing a lot. But now we're finding out that he was getting inflammation because he's got Osgood-Schlatter disease. And once again, the chances of recovery are very, very good. But I don't know, man. But I'd be nervous about this.
Because it's a crumbling of the cartilage. And I have this personally, but I'm not an athlete. I was told I have crumbling of the cartilage, which means that perhaps, when I'm 80 years old, I might struggle, when I walk. But again, I'm not a hockey player. So who knows what's going to happen? But it's never affected me. I mean, I'm always, I'm able to do anything and everything, but I don't have that disease. But I have the crumbling of the cartilage. So
in your knees?
I don't know. Yeah, in my knees. I was told like 25 years ago.
Only in your knees. You don't have.
I'm not hurting. I can do anything. I can go jogging. I can go skating. But again, I'm not an NHL player either.
You're not an elite athlete. No. So now the crumbling of the cartilage only in your knees, by the way. No crumbling of the cartilage anywhere else in your body. No. Only that's good to know. All right. Okay. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm overly dramatic here. I'm a little bit concerned by this. What if he's in the 5%? Who's drafted 5th overall? What if he's in the 5%?
I'm not trying to defend the Habs selection, but he could also be in the 5% of top 5 picks who flop because they're not good enough.
That's a very good point.
There's always risk involved. You want to avoid the risk of injury, especially at an early age.
Yeah.
But again, there's always risk. So if it's 5%, I think it's pretty acceptable.
I'm going to tell you something, Snake. It's funny that we're talking about this today. It's not actually funny, but it's appropriate I bring this up now. But so there I am at the development camp, and like I'm really watching Reinbacher, right, with my eyes, which are not a scout's eyes. Even though I did take a GM and scouting course once upon a time, about 12 years ago, or whatever it was. But anyway, I'm not a scout. But long story short, I'm watching this guy, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? The guy can't skate. Like, whoa. And so I came down to the determination because he was staying back a little bit. I wasn't seeing a lot of mobility. I wasn't seeing a lot of explosion. I wasn't seeing a lot of fluidity in the skating and stuff like that. I came down to the conclusion, and I said to myself, this guy has been through so much in the last month between combines and interviews and the draft and the nervousness and the running around and a plane here and a plane there. I said, he must be spent. He must be like physically very tired. And today I read this report and now it all makes sense to me. He was playing with splints and it was affecting his mobility.
Yeah.
And now it makes sense.
Because he looked pretty good in the end of the season in Switzerland.
I understand that. But what if, is there a chance that if this doesn't get better, that he has to play with splints for the rest of his career?
Well, if he does, and the way you saw him at development camp, I guess would affect him. I don't think it would be. Do you think that from what you saw at the camp that he could play with splints and actually face NHL players? He could face Connor McDavid?
No. But never mind Connor McDavid. What I saw at the camp, if that would be him, and look, this is not what we're saying. Let's put the cards on the table here. He's a young player. He'll probably be playing for the Montreal Canadiens in a year, maybe in 2 years. He's going to get better. He hasn't stopped growing. They're going to work on a few things. But because you asked the question, if that would be him in a year, which is it's not realistic to think it would be because everyone gets better with time, right? But if that would be him, he would have a really hard time. He would have a really, really hard time. Now, anyway, here we are. It's the 18th of July. I believe the draft was the 28th of June or whatever it is. So tomorrow, the draft was actually 3 weeks ago tomorrow. So it was 20 days ago. 20 days later, the fact the Montreal Canadiens selected Reinbacher 5th over several other players that you had high on your list. You think what? Where was Reinbacher on your list again? Because I know you had Michkov at number 2.
He was fifth. To me,
okay.
it was Michkov. Michkov, and then, Reinbacher was the next option on my list.
Okay. So it's not the end of the world for you.
5. Yeah.
C'est pas fin du monde pour toi, là.
No.
What do you think?
I'm not too concerned. And you know what? He was playing with Splints at development camp. Maybe since development camp is just, what it is. I mean, just a kind of an introduction, to the players and coaches, and it's just like skills, drills, everything. Maybe that's why he was wearing them, in order not to put too much weight on his knees. I don't know. I mean,
what would be your plan for him?
Oh, Laval.
Laval would be your plan
for this year. Yeah, Laval. And you know what?
Switzerland.
No, the whole season in Laval. Even if he has like 60 points in Laval, you play the whole season. Hopefully they make the playoffs. He gets playoff experience, just like Yuri Kulik did for Buffalo last year. Played the whole season. They did not call him up, although he was 18 years old. He was probably the most effective 18-year-old player in the history of the AHL. But they did not call him up. The plan was to keep him in Rochester. I would do the same thing with Reinbacher. Laval, 68 or whatever games that they play, 76. And that's it. And then he's ready to go to the Habs, second pairing, if everything goes well, for the first year. And
so you're not messing around. You're saying
no,
North America, let's go.
Yeah.
American Hockey League. He's close to you. He's in Laval. If you see doit faire un tour à Brassard, he's going to go to see one of the therapists or the doctors. Yeah. If they have to send somebody to Laval, they can go. He can come here and watch a couple of games. They can go there and watch a couple of games. They'll have him under their eye. He can work with Adam Nicholas. He gets accustomed to the small rink right away. He gets accustomed to North America right away. On niaise pas là. We don't mess around here. Let's go.
Exactly. And what I don't like in player development is that a lot of times they play yo-yo with the players. With players. Look at Shane Wright this year. He starts the season in Seattle, doesn't play very much, then goes to the World Juniors. Goes back to junior hockey. Then he's sent to the American Hockey League. And luckily for them, they reached the finals. So it was good, that they were able to have him play, I think, 24 games. But it's a lot on someone because you have to adjust constantly to a different level. It's not like in baseball, where basically a player can climb up from A, AA, AAA, and the majors within the season, because at every level, he's batting .350, let's say.
I understand.
But in hockey, it's so different from, going to NHL, to juniors, going back to World Juniors, going back to juniors, going back to AHL. To me, it's yo-yoing a player. And I think this is not the best way to develop guys.
A shout out to Murphy Clinic, an aesthetic clinic specializing in medical aesthetic care. They offer permanent laser hair removal as well as a wide range of treatments for skin problems such as acne, rosacea, fine lines, and more. They currently have 2 clinics, one located in Montreal, Shop Angus, and the second on the North Shore in Terrebonne. They are also opening soon in Quebec Cité. Visit murphyclinic.ca or on Instagram at Murphy Clinic. You know what? It's rare that this happens. Are you ready?
Yeah.
And I wish I could go the other way for the benefit of the podcast, but I agree with you. I would have David Reinbacher start in Laval, but here's the deal.
Yeah.
He won't. He's going to Switzerland.
He's going back to Switzerland?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Why? He has 1 year left on his contract, or because the Habs want him there?
I think because of maybe the contract, maybe his wanting to go back there to finish up a few things there. Yeah. And I don't think the Canadians are going to force the issue. Okay. But I'm of the belief that, and it doesn't go for all the time, but if you're going to come to the National Hockey League, you might as well get your feet wet. At the same time, Guy Boucher has gone on record as saying that he coached in that league, and the Swiss League is a better league than the American Hockey League. So at the same time, wouldn't you want your prospects in a better league?
I want my prospects to play in the league that is the closest to the NHL in terms of ring size, style of play. So to me, it's AHL all the way. This is not the same game. This is absolutely not the same game. In the Swiss League, there's no contact, practically. There's no contact. The ice surface is a little bit bigger.
Sounds like my marriage.
The same caliber of player.
No contact.
Well, practically. To me, this is not NHL hockey.
What a disaster.
American Hockey League is NHL hockey, just a notch below, where basically most guys are not going to be stars, but at least it's American, it's North American style hockey.
Okay, I hear you. Scott Wheeler of The Athletic, who does some great scouting work for them, put this up regarding Reinbacher. Let's see if we have it here. Le CH est très bien représenté dans le palmarès de l'expert en espoir David Reinbacher, 20e meilleur espoir dans la Ligue nationale de hockey. So Reinbacher, 20th best NHL prospect. How do you feel about that list?
Well,
you had a chance to see it?
Yeah, a list is a list. I mean, whether a guy is like ranked 12th or 14th or 15th, it's all a matter of how we see the players. And I don't like these lists per se, because I think past the top 5-10 players, there's not a big gap. And how can you tell that a guy is 40th, another guy is 31st? I'm not crazy about rankings. I care more about the analysis of the player. In this case, I think it's not a surprise that Reinbacher would be in the top 20, because he was picked number 5 this year. Man. There's also draft picks from last year included on the list, I would think.
Yes.
And maybe the year before, depending if the guys are still in college or in the American Hockey League.
Yes,
so,
because Luke Hughes is on the list as well. Correct, yes.
But there are players that are ranked before him that I don't agree with, because obviously they were from this year's draft, and I had Reinbacher ahead of them. So I know
Ryan Leonard.
Yeah, Ryan Leonard, Dalibor Dvorsky. There's a few players on that list whom I ranked lower this year. Mm-hmm. So Wheeler obviously is going with his rankings pre-draft.
Of course.
Which are different from mine, which is normal. Pronman's ranking at The Athletic are different from Wheeler's rankings. And, Grant McCagg has different rankings. We all have different rankings. Okay, except, let's say, Connor Bedard. But I think it's appropriate to be 20th, but there's probably players that were not mentioned that I would have placed in front of Reinbacher, and those who were in front of him that I would put behind him. So now, just looking at the list,
just behind him, you would have put Quentin Musty.
Yeah, of course. Bro. Of course, but I would put there's players ranked ahead of him that I'm not, yes, I know, Tony, but one day we're going to be me and you, president and vice president of the Quentin Musty fan club. Exactly.
If I get an autographed jersey.
Look, it'll take a few years. So obviously, in the meantime, people will make fun of me. But that type of forward, I think, in 2-3 years could be. He's going to be a very good top 6 player, and he's going to be much better than some guys who are drafted.
Who's going to make fun of you? You're the best.
Look, Tony, I get made fun of every day.
No.
Every time I go on your podcast, I get made fun of.
No. You know what they say in Italian?
Read the comments.
Quel meilleur.
Yeah, but not for everybody.
For us Italians, we say you're the best. Quel meilleur. Oh.
Good.
We say it.
Yeah. Tina Turner said it too, simply the best. Did she write the song? Did she write the song for me?
No, but you know the term in Italian.
No, I forgot because I don't speak Italian.
No. All right, okay. This is what it says on David Reinbacher, courtesy of Scott Wheeler and The Athletic, okay? We sometimes see draft-eligible defensemen play their full draft year in a professional league. We seldom see them playing big minutes in a good league, though, even when they're on the older side. When they're on the older side, like Reinbacher was in with his October birthday.
Yeah, but he was actually playing his 18-year-old season. Yeah.
Correct. But that's what the Austrian did in Switzerland's top flight last season, where he played over 20 minutes more often than he played under it. He drove results at both ends in those minutes, too, with a positive goal differential on an under 500 team that was outscored pretty significantly. Reinbacher's got pro size, desired handedness, and a really strong foundation of tools that all but guarantee he'll become a good NHLer.
Yeah.
He's a solid forward and backward skater, though he can look a little stilted at times, who gaps well and defends the rush effectively with a noticeably long stick. No comment. He looks to take instead of give in the neutral zone, regularly stepping up to try to bump puck carriers off possession and force dumps. Though there are times when that style can leave him chasing if his timing's off or if he's flat-footed. He's strong. His head is always up and on a swivel, and he does a good job preserving the ice when he's going back to get pucks through frequent shoulder checks. He's got poise and processing under pressure, even if his play with the puck on his stick isn't dynamic per se. He's just a rock-solid, projectable two-way defenseman. I'm not sure he's got the skill to become a true number one, but he's got everything needed to become a good top four guy and maybe more than that. I'm going to tell you this. I know everyone in Montreal tries to say the right thing, this, that, whatever. If he ends up being a top four, like a 3 or a 4 instead of 1 or a 2, that is the wrong pick. C'est pas compliqué, là.
Of course, it's the wrong pick if he ends up being a 3 or 4. But if he ends up being
David Reinbacher has to be a first pairing defenseman in the National Hockey League for 12 years minimum.
Yeah.
If not, Houston, we got a problem.
Look, I always compare his, because of the age and the progress that he's made and the kind of like ceiling that they have. I compare him to David Iricek from Columbus.
Oh, him I like.
A great season in the American Hockey League at age 19.
Him I like.
Yeah. So I see Reinbacher not necessarily being the same type of player, but I see the same kind of career or the same kind of ceiling. Iricek is not a number 1. He was picked number 6. He's not number 1 defenseman, but if he can be a number 2, he was worth the number 6 overall pick. Also, like Reinbacher, if Iricek is a 3 or a 4, he was the wrong pick.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. Yeah. And Jiricek, the second defenseman drafted in the Slavkovsky draft. Slavkovsky went number 1, and the first defenseman in the draft was Simon Nemec, the Slovak who went to the New Jersey Devils.
Season. Yeah, he had a great 18-year-old season.
He had a great season, yeah. Yeah, he had a great season. Okay, so Reinbacher is number 20 on Scott Wheeler's list, and he's not the only Hab to crack the top 30. Lane Hutson.
Mm-hmm.
Lane Hutson at 27. What do you think?
This is a wild card, honestly. I think the guy is highly skilled, in terms of, with the puck. But I don't know if he's going to be fast enough or a good enough skater to overcome the fact that he's undersized.
Why is it every time we talk about a Montreal Canadiens prospects, there's two type of people in this city? There's one type. Hold on a second. But your son is in my screen while this is going on here. But what are we doing here? What he's moving. He keeps on moving forward. He's in the screen here. He's in the screen. Yeah, he's in the screen. So if he's going to be in the screen, let's bring him on. Let's go. Come here. My friend Marcello is here with his 2 sons. All right. Okay. Yeah. Here we go. Okay. All right. Introduce yourself.
Hi.
Yeah. Tell them who you are.
At Tony's podcast.
Yeah, you're on Tony's podcast. But what's your name? Say your name.
Luca.
Who's got the best podcast in the world?
You.
Thank you. Who's better than me?
No one.
No one. That's right. All right. Luca, say your last name.
Fergielli.
Yeah. Where do you live? In LaSalle. Yeah. Luca Fergielli from LaSalle. All right. Okay, Luca. All right. Now, before your brother gets jealous, let's bring him in too. Give me a second here. This is the place where we make people famous over here. All right. Okay.
My name's Nicholas, but call
All right. His name's Nicholas, but call him Nico. Say hi to the snake.
Hey.
He says hi. All right. Okay. He's a big fan of yours. You have any cards or anything? You send them an autographed picture or what?
Well, I'm not famous yet.
No, you're more famous than you think, my friend. You're more famous than you think. All right. Okay. Those are the boys. All right. Okay. I saw him. He was going back and forth on the chair, and then all of a sudden he was in the screen. So I said, if he's going to be in the screen, well, we might as well put him on. No? All right. Okay. We got that out of the way. What? So there's two types of people in this city when we talk Montreal Canadiens, right? There's one that they think every Montreal Canadiens player is the best player, number one center, number one goal scorer, number one prospect, slam dunk. He's going to win the Rocket Richard. He's going to win the Vezina. He's going to win the Norris. He's going to win everything. Okay. And then there's you. No Montreal Canadiens prospect is good. This guy's not a number one center. That guy's not a number one winger. That guy's not a point per game player. That guy's not a 40 goal scorer. They don't have a number one defenseman. That guy's a 3 or a 4. You had players that were ranked better on your list. Do you ever say anything? Did they ever do anything to you, the Montreal Canadiens? Did you ever send them a Christmas card and they didn't send you one back? What's the story here, Snake?
No, but Tony, let's face it. In the last 20 years, no forward drafted by the Habs has ever scored 70 points. Man. So what am I going to say?
How many years ago?
I like Reinbacher. I ranked him 5th. Did I say anything against Reinbacher?
How many years is that again? Say it again. That stat.
20 years at least.
In the last 20 years?
Even Max Pacioretty did not reach 70 points.
No, I think he had a career high of 67. I could be wrong.
Yeah. So I don't know. Who's the last one?
30 goals, 33 goals, 35 goals, 37 goals, 39 goals. But I don't think
that's good. Look, he was a good pick. I'm not saying it was a bad pick, but I'm just saying that overall, you're asking me why I'm not that enthusiastic about the Habs prospects. You know,
you were going to ask a question.
They're great. What?
You were going to ask a question. Was it the last Montreal Canadiens player to pick up 70 points that was drafted? Was that your question?
Who was it? Saku Koivu?
Plekanec?
Yeah, drafted in 98, I think. Yeah, maybe.
It's got to be Plekanec when he played on the line with Kovalev, no?
Yeah, he had one a very good season offensively. Yeah. So now you understand?
No, that's not the year. That's not the year with Kovalev. That year was with
that, I think.
That's when they had Gomez and Camilleri, this, that, whatever, all that stuff.
Yeah, but maybe 2010 or something. But look, it's hard to be. I mean, how could I be enthusiastic about Kotkaniemi at number 3? He's not a bad player, but was he worth the number 3 pick when they could have picked Quinn Hughes, Brady Tkachuk?
The year Kovalev had 84 points, by the way, Plekanec was second with 69 points.
Okay. So
because those 2 years with Galchenyuk and Kotkaniemi,
that really hurt.
Trevor Timmins drafted by need to try to give Marc Bergevin a helping hand because Bergevin had not gone out to get a centerman. That was the big mistake. It was drafting by need.
You never draft by need. Only in the NFL can you make an argument for drafting by need because the players are NFL ready. So if you have a weakness at, let's say, cornerback, you draft a cornerback, let's say number 4, number 5, if he's very good. I mean, you can pass on a running back or, a wide receiver.
Now he became an NFL expert too.
Yeah, I am actually.
I
really, really follow the NFL.
Who you cheer for?
Pardon me? No one.
You don't cheer for anybody.
I cheer for teams that have players that I like. So it varies,
I like that. I like that kind of style, by the way, cheering for players that you like.
Yeah,
because I was I'm
not a bandwagon guy. I'm not a bandwagon guy who used to jump on a bandwagon if a team is like 12-1 in December. But I look at the rosters at the beginning of the year, and I cheer for teams that have players that I like. That's all. Sometimes they win, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
But just for fun. But getting back to this, I think in hockey you cannot draft by need because players are not going to be impactful in general before 3-4 years.
Correct.
And in the meantime, if you look at roster turnover, pull out any roster from, let's say, 2019, the end of the 2018-2019 season.
Yeah.
Look at the rosters and compare them to the rosters right now as we speak on July 18th. There's at least a 60% turnover, at least.
So your needs can change 3 years later.
Things change because you know what? Sometimes prospects you didn't expect were going to be good become good. You can also make trades. You can sign free agents. And
mind you, the Montreal Canadiens were looking for a number one centerman for a decade.
Yeah, they have, and sometimes that's when you reach for a player because it's okay if you're thinking, okay, we need a centerman, but let's say I don't know, Adam Fantilli is available, and you're hesitant between Fantilli, let's say, and Michkov, who's a winger. That I can understand. But because I think Fantilli could be a number one center. But when you look at Kotkaniemi, I mean, this is a guy who should have been drafted probably between 10 and 15. Between 10 and 15, you don't get a number one center unless you get kind of lucky. Let's say the odds are not as great of getting a number one center between 10 and 15. Yeah.
I hear you.
That's what I call a reach,
Yeah, but I wasn't even going to go here, but now that we're having this conversation, because I want to give the young man the benefit of the doubt. And I understand the logic of taking the guy that you think is the number one defenseman in the draft. I understand that logic. I'm a little bit rattled when Wheeler says he's going to be a top 4 because a top 4 can mean that he's going to be a 3 or a 4. If he ends up being a 4, it's an absolute disaster of a pick.
It's an absolute disaster. But judging from now, okay, the night of the draft, June 28th, I remember telling you, or maybe it was on BPM Sports. I said, look, once you look at your list of forwards, let's say, and you think that the next forward available is probably a second line guy, probably with a ceiling of 60 points or something.
Yeah.
Then you take the best defenseman because it's a very important position. And even if that guy ends up being a number 2, well, that's good because, look, I think this draft this year was a little bit overrated. It was overrated by the fact that there was it was very top heavy, but after the big 4, or the big 5, if you include Michkov, but it was kind of a different animal. Then who do you take? Do you take Dvorsky? Do you take Ryan Leonard? Heck, you might as well take a guy who has the potential to be a number 2 defenseman.
Zach Benson.
I like Zach Benson. I think he could fit well in Buffalo, but he was chosen number 13, and there was a reason for it. The guy is on the smallish side, so there's always a risk with this type of player. Where Reinbacher, let alone the knee problem thing, it's a pretty safe bet that he's going to reach his ceiling.
Well,
and
it's a pretty safe bet, but we've been talking about drafting by need.
Yeah,
but the Canadians, when they drafted Galchenyuk, was drafting by need. They needed a centerman.
Yeah, but outside of
drafted by need, they needed a centerman, and they chose Reinbacher because they don't have a lot of right-handed defensemen.
I do agree, but it's an important position, and I'd rather have this kind of a defenseman than choose a Ryan Leonard or a Dalibor Dvorsky or a Zach Benson. Now, will one of these forwards become better than Reinbacher at some point? Of course, one of them will be. But we don't know which one. So it's going to be very, very easy for the revisionists to go 5-6 years down the road and say, why didn't we draft, I don't know, Benson? Why didn't they do Zaborski? And pound on the Canadians. And you know what? I pound on the Canadians a lot, but I can be fair.
All right. So based on this conversation, what I take from this, when you were talking about Lane Hutson and big gamble, this, that, whatever, and all that stuff, and Zach Benson, you're not a fan of small players. That's it. Yeah, it's not more than that.
Look, I like Quinn Hughes. I like Quinn Hughes a lot. He's a small player. I just think that you cannot have too many small players and hope to win the Stanley Cup.
I understand, But what kind of thinking is that? You just said, but hold on a second. 5 minutes ago, you said that, sometimes there's 60% turnover within 3 or 4 years, you end up turning over your roster. So if you have a lot of small players now, which the Canadians do, let's say, for example, they have Suzuki, who's 5'11", and they have Newhook, who's 5'10", and they have Caulfield, who's 5'7". If that's the reason why they didn't want to draft Benson, well, Newhook could be gone in a couple of years.
Of course. But Benson went number 13. I would be curious to see where he was on the Canadians list. Because
where did Suzuki go in his draft?
13-2.
That's right. It turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah, but Suzuki is bigger than Benson. And look, I like Benson. I think he's dynamic. He's like he's a great playmaker. He's going to be in a great situation in Buffalo. So I'm not saying he's not going to be good. I'm just saying that there is a risk factor when you draft number 5 to take smaller player. Lane Hutson was picked 62nd. There's no risk that you take a guy who's highly skilled and you hope that he becomes, I don't know, Torrey Krug or something.
Yeah,
so,
chances are a guy who was picked 62nd should not play in the National Hockey League anyway.
Exactly.
In terms of the law of averages. So if he pans out, he pans out. Okay. I didn't see Logan Mailloux on Scott Wheeler's list.
Yeah.
So I texted him. And I asked him, and I said, Scott, I didn't see Logan Mailloux on your list. I'm curious because I would have thought he would have been on that list of 50, or he would have been on the list of honorable mention.
Not if you listen to me.
And he wrote back and he says, Tony, I see him in the top 200.
Yeah.
And he said, I see him as a grade B prospect.
He's a B prospect, yeah.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
And you guys scout games for a living and I don't, but it doesn't mean I can't have an opinion.
Of course you can.
I disagree with you guys.
Good. We'll see.
I think he has everything it takes to be in that conversation with Reinbacher and Mailloux and Hutson.
Okay.
And if it's not the case, then you're going to take this clip and you're going to make it go viral. And if it is the case, then I'll take the clip and I'll make it go viral. But I saw him at development. I know development camp means nothing. And I'm not stupid either. I know that he was bigger and stronger than mostly everyone that he went up against. And that's why he was dominant in that particular phase. But man, he just looks like an NHL player. He moves like an NHL player. He takes the body like an NHL player. He ties up the man like an NHL player. He ties up the stick like an NHL player. He has a long stick. He cuts off a lot of passing lanes. He's got offensive instincts. He's got an NHL shot. He's got NHL toughness. What more do you want?
Yeah, I want him to show that he's more than a third pairing guy, which I think is his ceiling. We're talking about third pairing guy here. And you know what? He was drafted 31st. So even making
he was
the
drafted
NHL,
31st because he told GMs, don't draft me. I don't deserve to be drafted.
I don't think he would have.
The huge mistake.
I don't think he would have gone higher. I don't think he would have gone higher.
I know for a fact that he was on top 12. He was top 12 on many lists.
Okay, well, and these scouts and GMs are still employed.
You're employed. What does that mean?
No, what I mean is that these guys make hundreds of thousands a year.
I don't like when people say that. So, for example, hold on a second. Are you employed by an NHL team?
No.
Okay.
Because they don't like loose cannons like me.
Perfect. In your opinion, do you think you know what you're talking? Do you think you know how to scout?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I think you know how to scout too.
Okay.
And it's not because you're not employed by an NHL team
that
my opinion of you is actually going to be less. Because I believe that you know what you're talking about more than some NHL scouts. And I believe that there are some NHL scouts who probably know their thing a little bit more than you. That's just the way the world is, right?
That's fair enough.
But the whole thing of but who are these?
No,
scouts?
because
if I would say this to an NHL scout, hey, my buddy gave me this. He told me this about this player. He gave me this scouting report, and they would say, oh yeah, who gave it to you? Simon the Snake Boisvert. They would say, yeah, and he works for who? And then I would get mad at them. So now you, on the other hand, saying, well, these scouts are who and they're not very good. Well, I have to get mad at you.
is because these guys had a chance to prove it. Okay, GMs see their list, and if on the list Logan Mailloux is number 9, I call the guy to my office and I say, "Why is Mailloux at number 9? You're fired."
You're fired. You don't even give the guy a chance to answer. You ask him a question, but you fire him before he even answers.
Fire him.
I wouldn't want to work for you, man. Ask me the question. So I have, let's just say, Logan Mailloux at number 12 on my list in the draft year. And
well, I would say that what you're drinking has alcohol in it.
No, it does not. The alcohol is here. It is yet unopened. Right now, I am having some water. But if you want, I will go get a British. Hold on a second. So for you, Logan Mailloux, once again, give me give me your opinion on Logan Mailloux once again.
I think this is a guy.
Career AHLer. Did you tell me something like that last time?
I said he's either a 6, a 7, or a career AHLer. But
1 second. Hold on a
his
second.
ceiling is number 6. We're talking 8-9 minutes per game and a very.
Hold on a second. Hold that thought. Talk to yourself if you want. I'll be back. Can you give me 10 seconds?
Yeah.
15 seconds. I'll be back.
Do I have the choice?
Keep talking. Okay, I'm back. Give me your tell me what you just said again about Logan Mailloux.
I said that Logan Mailloux's ceiling is number 6. He's most probably a number 7 or a career AHLer who's going to be like up and down, and at some point he's just going to disappear from the landscape. I do not see Logan Mailloux playing more than 8-10 minutes a game in the NHL, and that is his ceiling.
I'm going to start drinking now.
Anyway, you're going to see in Laval next year. You're going to be very disappointed in Laval next year.
Oh, I'm going to be very disappointed. Oh, no. You're
the defenseman, you give them 2 years in the HL. At age 21, we'll see. Maybe at age 22. Look, he, with all the injuries, he's going to get a cup of coffee in Montreal.
It's because of the injuries. The season hasn't started yet, but you already know there's going to be injuries. So if Logan Mailloux plays a couple of games, it's because there were injuries.
Certainly not because he's going to light it up in the AHL.
Snake, va te fare una camminata, va prendre un marche.
He's going to be struggling. Yeah, because it's already time for me to go,
Yeah, it's time for you to go,
I have a life, I have dates.
Yeah, you have dates, dates. Like that, they're in your pantry, and they contain a lot of sugar. Those are the dates you have.
A date, not dates, but a date.
Yeah, you have a date, yeah.
Yeah, and she's very pretty. Not as pretty as your wife, but she's pretty.
Yeah. No, I'm sure she's lovely, by the way.
Yeah.
Do you tell her about your scouting reports, or do you tell her how you see?
Oh, what do you guys do? I'm at her place right now. She can hear me.
You're at her place right now?
Yeah, she can hear me.
We've been on for like 50 minutes, and you're at her place, and you're on with me for 50 minutes?
Yeah.
You don't have your priorities straight, my friend. She's going to dump you like yesterday's newspaper.
Well, that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a problem with your cartilage, or so you were talking about before? You have a crumbling. What do you have? A crumbling cartilage?
Yeah, in the knee. But I never felt anything. I was just told by accident 25 years ago.
You never felt anything.
No, I never felt anything. I can jog. I can run. I can certainly run faster than you, Tony.
You think so?
Yeah.
Really?
I could challenge you to a 50-meter race like this.
Why? You jog every day?
No, I don't jog every day, but I'm not a big guy, and I've already run fast. So even though I'm 57, I'm sure I can run faster than most 57-year-old guys out there.
You know what? I'd be willing to bet that I would surprise you very much in a race.
Okay.
When do you want to do this?
Je sais pas, là.
You want to show up to the park, and then like we choose a date, whatever, 1er September, 1st of September, whatever. We show up at the park. We have a race. We tape it. We bring Shane Gaumont and Yellow, Sammy Cavallaro. We bring a sick team. We bring Marcello with his kids.
We'll see.
Yeah. All right. So that's it now?
Yeah.
You got me. the things you said about Logan Mailloux, you know, if you would come into my office and you would say, Mailloux 12 on your list, why? I would have said, he's big, he's strong, he skates well, he shoots the puck 105 miles per hour, he takes the body, he knows how to place the stick, he clears the front of the net, he's got soft hands. That's what I would have told you. And then you would have told me, I'm fired?
Yeah, because the guy basically was taking advantage of his size. Once you reach the AHL or the NHL, size is not as big an advantage as in junior hockey.
So Lindros was no good.
I don't see the guy skilled enough to be a top 4 defenseman. And I'm going to repeat it over and over.
The guy's a defenseman. He scored a goal in Michigan. You don't think he's skilled enough? Do you know how many forwards in the world can score Michigan goals?
You know what? You know what? Young hockey players should focus on other stuff than the Michigan. They should learn how to play hockey.
And Mozituna. Oh, you're one of those guys that when you see a highlight reel,
I love it.
Instead of saying it's absolutely beautiful and it's great for the game, for you it's frowned upon. So you find something to pick on. For you in Michigan is what they sell at La Fleurs. C'est le hot dog, c'est chien chaud. Hot dog, chien chaud. Popcorn, mais soufflé. Coke, soft drinks. Coke. Go ahead,
Tony.
Yeah.
If I look at it from the eyes of a talent evaluator, to me, it doesn't really matter whether the guy can do a Michigan or not. If I watch TV, and I'm in my basement or my living room and I'm watching a game, I love seeing the Michigan. Yeah.
You, my friend, are a talent evaluator extraordinaire.
Thank you.
I will let you go because you have a hot date.
I do.
Now, this 1 hour that we did together, it was time for the Viagra to kick in or what? And so now after the 1 hour it's kicked in, you're ready to go or what? It's come suck some ash or what?
I don't need Viagra.
I
don't need Viagra.
No?
No.
You know what? I never took it, but they say you can go 4 hours, but
I don't care.
For 30 minutes more, is it worth it? It's not worth it, so I don't take it.
Exactly.
You're a talent evaluator. You're the best. See you, Snake.
Salut.
Go talk about Quentin Musty. Go talk about Quentin Musty. Marinaro, shout out to my boy Charlie Cabrera over at Optimal Stretch. They specialize in fascial stretch therapy. As a matter of fact, I'm going to see him tomorrow morning at 4710 St. Ambroise. He and Sam, the man. I look forward to seeing them. Hey, yesterday, I talked to you about a U16 girls team that play for AS Laval that are participating in the Gothia Cup in Sweden, a very prestigious youth tournament. And yesterday were the opening ceremonies. And on top is the team picture with my buddy there, Robert Zariello, to the left. And I even spot Julian Di Giovanni, among others, on the right. And those are the girls. And the picture below that you see are the pictures decked out in their Canada gear yesterday, representing the city, the province, and the country in a stadium filled with 51,000 people. It sounds like a lot of fun. Girls, enjoy it. Memories to last a lifetime. Also, earlier today, in case you missed it, yesterday we spoke about Alex Galchenyuk. Well, earlier today, Alex Galchenyuk issued a statement, a very important one. If we can bring it up, I'll read it to you. I'm deeply ashamed of my recent behavior, and I'm beyond sorry to everyone I offended and hurt. It was uncalled for, it was horrific, and it has ruined this great new opportunity I was given by the Coyotes. I'm beyond embarrassed and disappointed with myself, and I feel awful for everyone I have let down. My family was counting on me to be better. The Coyotes and the amazing Coyotes fans deserve better, and the brave police officers who risk their lives to keep us safe deserve better. I let them all down with my despicable and disrespectful behavior after drinking alcohol. Today, I am checking myself into the NHL and NHLPA Player Assistance Program. I'm doing this to get the help I need, and I hope to never make a mistake like this again. Alex Galchenyuk. Alex, you made a mistake. You owned it. Obviously, you need help, and you've recognized that. And we're all pulling for you, Alex. There are things that are more important than hockey, and obviously your health is one of them. So all the best to you. All right. On that note, Marinaro, I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you very much for all of you watching on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. If you liked it, like it, share it with your friends, and message SICK, 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 SICK. And if you're going to listen on Google, Apple, or Spotify, leave us a 5-star review. It's our way of feeling the love. By the way, I mentioned yesterday, I sat down with Freeway Frank for 2 hours on the Drive By podcast that you can find also on all social media channels and apps, as well as on YouTube. And if you have a chance to watch it, we discussed a lot of things. We didn't even talk hockey, over 2 hours. So I don't know when was the last time I had a conversation for about 2 hours, but I did, and you can check that out as well. All right, okay. Special thanks to Sammy Agnello and Juliana Cavallaro and Shane Gomo at Master Control. It is the Sick Podcast. We'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaBita.tb, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.